Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Wiki Weekends, where we wind up a wiki, we take a deep dive, and we keep swimming until we find something fun to talk about. I'm your host for this episode, Lucas Holland, and I am also joined by the lovely Karl Smallwood.
Hello.
And Karl, today I'm rather sweaty and my mind is wandering a bit, so bear with. I'm just doing my best.
No, Lucas, you can't do that, because you do know that when you say it's warm in the UK, that is like the chant to someone in America saying it's not that hot.
Technically, Karl, I never said it. I just said I was sweaty. That doesn't necessarily mean I was warm.
Can't complain about it. Lucas, it summons them. It summons the Americans of air conditioning.
Let's move on from that and talk about what today's subject will be. That is the television show, the TV series of The Umbrella Academy.
I know you've been wanting to talk about this for a while, so you're going to have to guide my hips on this little one, because I've not seen The Umbrella Academy.
I would recommend it. I have a lot of problems with it, but I really enjoy it regardless. I enjoy it despite some problems.
Tell me more about Umbrella Academy. That's the thing. The beauty of Wiki Weekends is, because I'm not familiar with the subject, Wikipedia, it's got to be right there. Mm-hmm. It'll guide me, and it'll give me a brief overview of what the show is, what's it about.
The Umbrella Academy is an American superhero television series based on the comic book series of the same name, written by Gerard Way, illustrated by Gabriel Barr, and published by Dark Horse Comics.
It is Gerard Way, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's the guy from My Chemical Romance.
Yeah, man, yeah.
Can you tell the story of when you went to go see My Chemical Romance and there was that lady there wearing her wearing something you wouldn't expect to see at a concert?
Yes, there was an awesome younger lady behind us that was full gothed up makeup and stuff and skeleton looking face in a full bridal gown, and I was I respect the commitment to the bit so hard.
It reminds me of a friend of mine. She got married 2 years ago, and on Instagram the other day on her stories, it was just her doing her hoovering in a wedding dress. It's well, I paid for it, I'm gonna fucking use it.
Gerard Way was actually I think before he got big with My Chemical Romance, I believe he was an artist in comics and stuff.
He is, yeah. Do you want to see my favourite? Because I do know my favourite drawing by Gerard Way. Do you want to see it? Because I tracked it down.
Oh hell yeah!
Do you want to see my favourite Gerard Way drawing? I'll send it to you, and you can put the clip. You can put the picture in. Over at home.
Just a little angry smiley face.
read the caption.
Says, do you ever get scared by your own creative projects? Had to pull this down for a while.
It might be one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and it's just Gerard Way.
People always ask the question of if there's one celebrity that you'd be gutted to find out is a trash person. Mm-hmm. It's I think my answer might be Gerard Way. I thoroughly enjoy My Chemical Romance. They're one of my favourite bands, and going to see them live was a perfect experience. Every time I just see them, talk about emo culture, as it were, and the fact, obviously a lot of it was around the lot of discussions around mental health and self-harm and stuff like that, and he's always been so excellent at just being we do not condone that shit, please stop thinking it's what we want you to do and stuff. Very open to talk about how just gross other people in the industry are as well, of having young groupies and shit.
Yeah, because that's the thing of if you like emo music or pop punk, it's really difficult to go back and listen. There's a reason why we don't do many music episodes. Me and Luke's into pop punk as kids, and we don't want to read those Wikipedia pages. That controversy section is going to be a rough read.
Yeah.
For a lot of the bands we liked as kids.
Every time it's so you guys gonna go out and find some girls tonight and stuff like that, and they're oh, actually, we'd really like to start a D&D campaign. It's yes, that's the right answer. They just seem massive friendly geeks, and I love it. If anyone wasn't aware, yes, Umbrella Academy is just a project that Gerard Way worked on after My Chemical Romance split up for a while, I believe. Fuck it, yeah, I was a comic book artist, why not go down that route?
Now I've got all this fame and industry clout. Be a shame not to use it for something that I want to do.
Mm-hmm. And then obviously we're talking about the adaptation, because I'm familiar with Umbrella Academy through the show. I know that Gerard Way wrote the comic books. I believe there's quite a few differences between the books and the TV series. I'm not saying that the TV show is better, blah, blah, blah. We're not having that conversation. I just don't have experience with the comic books. But yeah, the TV show itself was created for Netflix by Steve Blackman and developed by Jeremy Slater. It revolves around a dysfunctional family of adopted sibling superheroes who reunite to solve the mystery of their father's death and the threat of an imminent apocalypse. The entire premise of the show is pretty much revolved around, like, solving apocalypses that are about to happen, and usually the gimmick of each series is like, we know there's going to be an impending apocalypse, we don't know why the apocalypse happens yet. So it's kind of like trying to put the mystery together of, why is the world going to end this time?
How long do we have?
This rate of escalation, if you factor in...
How long? 5?
4, maybe 5 days before the rest of existence is blitzed.
It's like, please stop trying to destroy the world. So we'll stop it, but it does stop us from living our lives, and we kind of have, like, Netflix to watch.
It's kind of like one of the reasons that I dislike the writing of the show a lot of the time, and presumably it's aping the gimmicks of the comic books, but feels really tiresome to me that the plotline and gimmick of each season is the same as the last one of, like, well, there's an apocalypse, what are we gonna do to figure it out and stop it? It's very tropey and comic booky and stuff, and like, it's a classic superhero thing, right? Obviously, I will be talking about the first 3 seasons. Season 4's about to drop, hence why I waited to talk about it until it coincided a little bit better with the timing of this. So we'll talk about the cast to begin with, because it's got a very good cast, a very likeable cast, which features Elliot Page, Tom Hopper, David Castaneda, Emmy Raver-Lampman, Robert Sheehan, Aidan Gallagher, Cameron Britton, Mary J. Blige, John Magaro, Adam Godley.
Mary J. Blige is in this show?
Yeah.
You gotta tell me how you did the London job in '66. Beautiful work, really.
I swear to Christ, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
And do you have, like, a standout member of the cast, like, you, like, you know, just you really enjoy the performances of?
I always just think that they provide a standout role in pretty much everything I've seen them in, which is Robert Sheehan.
Oh, wait, now I know his face. Yeah, Irish. He's the guy from Misfits.
He was famously the standout character from the first series of Misfits, yeah.
How is it that you can turn back time, apparently, and weird kids can turn invisible? It's not like this whole situation is backed up by a wank load of logic.
Which was a show that had some, like, you know, again, a stacked cast. If you look back on it, it had a stacked cast.
Yes.
But you don't realise, when you're watching it at the time, it's like, oh, these young British and Irish actors. And then
yeah, a lot of up-and-coming, like, actual young adult stars. It's not like the classic Hollywood thing of, like, they're all 30, actually, when they're playing 18-year-olds. It's like, no, they were all about that age.
So as soon as I saw his face, I went, oh, yeah, the guy from Misfits, that guy's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Klaus is fantastic. He's just, like, a very disturbed character, which, to be fair, they kind of all are, all of the main family cast, in very different ways, but it's like, he just plays that goofy comedic role so well, but also brings, like, a lot of, you know, actual emotion and darkness to it. That's the character that, you know, you can normally rely on getting a laugh out of people with them.
And there is something I would like to ask you about, because I remember seeing this in the news, and I was curious about how it was going to be handled.
Okay.
And it is when Elliot Page transitioned. I remember that being a topic like, what's going to happen to their character? They're still going to play the same character, right?
Yeah, they just play the same character. So they went from Vanya Hargreaves in the first season or first 2 seasons to then in the 3rd season being played as Victor.
And you know what? That's all you really need to do, right?
Well, they have one scene. Vanya's kind of having a bit of an identity crisis. Walks past, I think it's a barber shop, and goes in and gets a haircut. Comes back and is like, oh, hey, by the way, I'd like to be known as Victor now. And all the family are like, huh, okay. Yeah, sure. Like, didn't see that coming, but okay.
Who's Victor?
I am. It's who I've always been. Is that an issue for anyone?
No, I'm good with it.
Yeah, me too. Cool.
Truly happy for you, Victor.
That's what I was curious about, because I remember seeing all the column inches dedicated to how are they ever going to address this topic, and it's literally one scene of like, hey, I'd like to go by this name now. Sure, cool.
I think one of the characters, it might be Klaus, played by Robert Sheehan, I'm pretty sure just says like, oh, cool, I'm happy for you.
Because it reminds me a little bit of Gen V. Like, not the exact same topic, but it's younger superheroes.
Right.
And there's a character like Jordan Lee, who is a character who has the ability to change genders at will. and they're
Right.
played by two different actors, and just they have different superpowers based on whether they're in female form or male form, and they have this constant recurring thing of like nobody gives a fuck. Except for like the corporate guys, like it's gonna be really difficult to sell a gender fluid superhero to the public. It's like it really isn't. No one gives a fuck.
The only people who care are you. Yeah.
Yeah, and the only other people who, besides you, care are bigots. And why would you placate them?
Well, because it's Vought and they're, the corporate headpiece that wants as much of the pie as possible. And guess what? They're portrayed as the bad guys.
But I was just curious about that, so thank you for illuminating on that.
Thanks for bringing it up, because it's a thing that I'd forgot about. And yeah, it's played that, not offhanded, but it's just kind of like they move on from it so quickly because it's just like a non-real issue for anyone but Victor. Obviously it's important to them, but to the rest of the family, they're just like, okay, cool, I'm happy for you, let's move on, and now you can be known as Victor, yeah.
Do you know what it reminds me? This is a really weird pull. Benidorm? Have you seen Benidorm?
I've seen like Benidorm because when I used to live with my mum, she watched it, so I've seen bits and pieces.
Yeah, there's a character on like later seasons of Benidorm, Leslie or Les, and they're not trans, but they do present as female sometimes, and they have a scene where they get hired to work in the hotel. Benidorm's set in a hotel in Benidorm, and just the manager comes out and says, "This is Les. Sometimes they're going to come to work as Leslie." Okay, and that's it. And no character on the show ever brings it up, ever. It's just Les or Leslie.
That's just who they are, yeah.
Yep. And isn't that really refreshing when you watch a show like that? And it just when you go from like the internet where people are such assholes about it, and then you just watch a TV show that's reflective of how real life usually is. Of just like, cool, let's move on.
Yeah, and like, before season 3 came out, I do remember seeing people talk about like, well, how is Elliot Page's character going to be portrayed, or are they going to be recast? And then it was so cool to just see that scene in the TV show, and then it's just like, cool, we've addressed it.
The retroactively went back as well and just changed the credit in earlier seasons, right?
Oh, yes, I believe so, yeah. I think they've changed the credit to Elliot Page, yeah. The main cast is like Elliot Page as Victor Hargreaves, Tom Hopper as Luther Hargreaves / Space Boy. I'll like give you a little rundown actually, because I know who the characters are, but you don't.
What are the superpowers? This is the fun stuff with superhero media, right? Like, what's the dumb powers that they have?
The first person, Victor, who, as say earlier seasons, is Vanya. They are like seemingly a character with no powers, but because it's comic booky, that at some point, like, it's going to be revealed that they actually had powers the entire time. And I am going to talk spoilers for like seasons 1, 2, and 3 here, just to clarify before I get too deep into it. They were kind of alienated as a kid and always set aside because they were the one of the 7 siblings who didn't have superpowers. The dad, quote unquote, like the adopted father, who doesn't actually give a shit about the kids, like, he just is this billionaire who found out that there's a bunch of kids being born on the same day through like weird circumstances, and these women all got pregnant instantly through weird means. Like, they all just instantly became pregnant on a day and gave birth to these kids. And it's like, then as a billionaire, he just goes around buying as many of these children as he can.
How much do you want for it? Skolka.
It's weird, like, when you're that rich, you can just buy a child.
He convinces 7 families to give up their kid who was born out of nowhere because he presumes that these children are special and chosen in some way. It turns out they all have superpowers. Basically, at the start of season 1, Victor is portrayed as like a character who doesn't have any superpowers at all, but then it turns out that the reason that they weren't allowed to do any training and they were ostracized and stuff is actually they were the one with superpowers.
Oh, they've got more superpowers than everybody else.
So they were too powerful to be able to control their powers and kept getting locked away and having their memories repressed and shit.
That's like when you find out it's like it's a common trope in Marvel with like Jean Grey, where Jean Grey's Like, has like mental limiters placed on her abilities.
Yeah.
Because like Professor X is like, we can't let a child have this much power. We've got to place some mental limiters on that power.
It kind of reminds me as well of like the Captain Marvel movie where it's like, oh well, if we just like put limits on her and tell her that as a woman she can't get emotional, that'll be great, right? It's like, what good writing.
It did make as well for a really interesting film when you got a character who can't display any emotion. When you have like the incredibly charismatic oh god, I forgot the actor's name
Brie
now.
Larson.
Brie Larson. I was gonna say like Aubrey Plaza then. It's like, it's not that.
Literal like Oscar winner Brie Larson in, oh, what do you want me to do? Well, you can't portray any emotion. Got it.
Right.
We're also going to bring you in for like Avengers Infinity War or Endgame or whatever. It was Endgame, right? But we're going to do that before we film your film where you figure out what your character's like.
Yeah.
So you're also going to be weird and unemotional and kind of a different character.
I still get annoyed of like, there's the opening battle scene of Captain Marvel where she's escaping in like the handcuffs. And just there's one moment where Brie Larson must have been improvising because she doesn't act like it for the entire rest of the movie. And it's where like the monster screams in her face, just turns around and goes, rah! And rolls back in its face. It's like, that's the only time you see her having fun. It's like, why can't we have that character?
In the Marvels, that was the biggest selling point for the movie for me, was like actually getting to see Brie Larson enjoy herself and like Captain Marvel have some fun.
We get to see Envy Adams actually live her truth.
It's like, I can never remember the name, the actress's name for Kamala, but like, she's fantastic and super just endearing all of the time and brings out some of the like character in Captain Marvel herself, and it's like, it's so fun to be able to actually see Brie Larson enjoying playing that character finally.
It is indeed, yes. But, tell me more about these superpowers, though.
Vanya in season 1 finds out they have superpowers, is the cause of the apocalypse, and I say I get a bit muddy with the end of season 1, but it just really annoyed me. But the thing to note was just like, oh no, how do we stop the apocalypse? And it was just like, we're just gonna time travel away from that problem.
To be fair, it's not our problem anymore. That does work. If you do just time travel away, it stops being your problem. That is a true thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have a space boy who is an astronaut with super strength who lived on the moon for 4 years on a mission from his father. They are played by Tom Hopper, who is like another just like... I think the first time I saw Tom Hopper was in Black Flags, and I was just like, oh, this guy's really fucking good. And then he popped up again in Umbrella Academy, and I was like, yeah, man.
He is Gorilla.
He's always... That's the thing, Tom Hopper even not being like CGI Gorilla Man is fucking huge anyway.
Here's the thing as well, like, how good's that CGI Gorilla look?
It's a Netflix budget, right? I don't necessarily think that the effects on him being a Gorilla Man are that bad, actually. He's very big and kind of looks a little bit inflated, but you would if you've got the muscle mass of a gorilla, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
But I actually think that that's one of the effects that they pull off a little bit better. Some of the other CG throughout the series is questionable, but yeah.
Is it not like the Inhumans where they had to put Lockjaw in it, and it's like, we haven't got the CGI budget for a 6 foot tall bulldog? Put him in one scene and then he's never in the show again.
It's wild to me that people make the decisions to put in characters like that in the first place.
Because, the fans will expect this character. So, yeah, well, they'll expect it to look good. Just don't put them in.
Because didn't they have the same problem with Inhumans with, like, one of the main characters where she has, like, hair powers or something?
Yeah, and they couldn't do the CGI to make her hair move, so she just doesn't use her powers half the time.
Yeah.
Even in situations where it'd be very helpful to use her powers.
We don't have the budget for this anymore. The budget for the episode's done, like...
It's like, conveniently, that character is not on screen a lot. It's like, God, just don't make it the show then. If you can't afford to realise the character, don't do it.
Exactly, yeah. Dan Castaneda as Diego Hargreaves, who is a rebellious troublemaker with a mild telekinetic ability to curve the trajectory of moving objects, including knives and bullets.
So he's like the guy, he's just got Wanted powers then, which is another comic book. I always forget that Wanted was based on a comic book.
Yeah, it is, yeah, but like, he normally because, I guess, again, maybe budget or something, he normally has just missed a knife.
Here's the thing, is I'll give him a boomerang and watch him freak out.
He does kind of have, like, boomerang-esque blades that he does throw every now and then.
See, if I was him, and he's like, oh, you can curve any objects when it's in a path, I wouldn't throw knives. I'd throw fucking billiard balls. I'd throw something that you just do not want to be hit by, and I'd throw that, and I'd make sure it curves directly into the side of your head. Joe, right in your ear, every time.
Are you really
so
saying
imagine getting clocked into the side of the head by a billiard ball?
Yeah, but imagine being hit in the temple with a knife.
Yeah, but that kills you. That's not scary. It's like, oh, it's always knife, man. He just kills me. It's like, Joe, it's scary. This guy just throws fucking billiard. Well, you're going to be dead, right?
It's pretty scary to be like, hey, that's the guy who's going to kill me.
No one can tell his story. If they say, hey, this guy is going to fucking frisbee, he's going to throw bowling balls and they're going to curve around and crack you in the ankle, right on the side as well, so it rolls your ankle, and that's all he does. So I remember when I played Super Hot and like VR, and all I did was crouch down and punch all the guys in the penis, so I went, this will be remembered. They're going to remember this guy.
But it's scary to also hear, like, hey, there's a guy that's just, like, got infinite knives on his body that's just going to, like, nail you in one shot.
It is, but I would prefer if they used the power in a more interesting way.
Although, considering how much it's always, like, built up as them having superpowers and being trained as the Umbrella Academy and being, like, these, highly skilled superheroes, he does fuck up throwing his knives a rather, like, large periods of time.
Especially if you can curve stuff as well. If you have the ability to alter its trajectory mid-air.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do it with something that, like, do it with paper airplanes to make them always just go directly into people, like, right into the corner of your eye every time.
You fucker!
The nickname for Diego is apparently the Kraken, which I wouldn't really associate with someone who's, like, a knife-based character.
Maybe Crackshot.
But it's like the Kraken, as in, like, the sea monster. And it's
we don't know the Kraken might throw knives at people.
Maybe the Kraken does throw knives. Have you ever fought a Kraken?
No, I don't know. It's just throwing fucking tentacles at people. That's a good tactic, though. Give yourself a nickname that doesn't coincide with what your power is, and no one knows what the fuck to expect. It's like, that guy's called... It's like, call yourself, like, just, oh, that guy over there, he's like the ball puncher, and then walk up and kick him in the ass. Like, I never saw this coming. That's the ball puncher, man.
Oh man, that's the Kraken. What are they going to do? Oh, I don't know. It must be like some sea-related power, right? And it just throws a knife into your face.
Throws a knife. So I never saw this coming.
That is true. A more aptly named superhero would be Alison Hargreaves, who's played by Emmy raver-lampman, who is just called the Rumour. For someone that's called the Rumour, what do you expect their power to be?
Manipulate people's like minds.
Yes. So they speak the phrase "I heard a rumor" and then say something, and that just forces that thing to become true. Say for example, like, oh, I heard a rumor that you're gonna punch yourself in the face or something. They'll punch themselves in the face.
I heard a rumor that you shot your friend.
That seems like a good power, but that seems it's better suited for being written down, because I bet the actress saying that all the time gets really annoying.
Well, in season 3, she discovered she can control minds without needing the phrase "in a moment of intense anger."
Okay, because that seems like you get really... It's like, Joe, when you watch Stranger Things, and it's like, okay, we get it. 11's powers cause a self-harm. I got so fucking sick by season 4 of like that little drop of blood coming out of Millie Brock. It's like, we get it. You don't have to focus on it every time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all I wanted in one episode, I wanted her to do that, and I wanted her head to explode. Like, give me something. It's like it gets so annoying that it's every time.
Robert Sheehan as the Seance. Can you guess what the Seance might be, Klaus Hargreaves?
The ability to communicate with the dead.
Exactly, yes.
Come on now, Reggie. Anytime now. Please.
And at some point, they gain the ability to make them temporarily corporeal. Think like Return of the King style, just like, go my army.
Thing is that I'll never forget, it's like in Battle for Middle-earth 2, there's a way you can bug the game to end up with 2 armies of the dead, and it's so fucking broken. Sauron never had a chance. When you rock up with 2 armies of the dead, it's like, what do you...
It's hard enough to beat 1 army of the dead, let alone 2.
I just reckon crisscross across the battlefield, it's like, get fucked.
They are a flamboyant drug addict, and they have the ability to connect with their deceased sibling, Ben, who is known down here as they are the Horror. But basically, they die in a mission or something, which I think is the reason that they all end up splitting up and going their separate ways and the Umbrella Academy not being a thing anymore. Basically just still communicate with Ben themselves, but no one else can communicate with Ben. And then in season 3, Klaus also discovers that he has the power of immortality and can revive himself and heal his own wounds after being killed. A bit of a fitting addition to that power set, considering the first role that I ever saw them in was Misfits, where it turns out their power was not being able to die.
That's a pretty good power until you realise it doesn't mean you can't feel pain.
That was I think a really good little reveal at the end of season 1 of Misfits. It's just they spend the entire season pissed off that they don't have powers. And as always is the case, as I mentioned with the whole Vanya reveal, is they always do have a power. And it just is going to be revealed at some point. But just, yeah, they fall off the community centre and get impaled. And then in their grave, literally they get buried and then realise I can't die.
Hey, guess what? I'm immortal.
Yeah, speaking of comics, there's a DC villain who can't die. I think he's called Mr. Immortal or something like that.
What a name.
He fights Batman, and Batman doesn't know what to do to stop him. So what he does, he traps him inside a safe and launches it into space. And then it never gets mentioned again. So basically Batman condemns the Batman who never kills. He condemns a guy to die infinite deaths of just waking up in the cold depths of space, simultaneously freezing to death, suffocating, and dying, and then immediately coming back to life for it to happen again. And Batman's like, this was okay. This was the moral thing to do in this situation. It's you've killed that guy 4,000 times.
Not just, put him in a prison for meta people or whatever, like they often do in DC stuff. It's no, just gonna launch him in space forever.
Yeah, and that's why it's always funny when people say Batman doesn't kill. It's he killed that guy literally infinite times. He has died an infinite number of times because of Batman.
Justin H. plays Ben Hargreaves, the Horror, who also plays Sparrow number 2. And it's just an alternate timeline version of himself, where it's just the dad in season 2 meets them all in the past when they time travel, sees how much of a wreck they all are, and then decides to go and adopt by a different group of kids.
I want more kids.
So
Give me more children.
He sees what a fuck up they are. He doesn't want more. He wants different ones.
He wants different ones. You also give me a new one.
So he goes, they basically by bumping into the dad in the past, create a version of reality where instead of the Umbrella Academy happening, he forms the Sparrows. And Ben, because Ben was dead and he didn't beat Ben was not a fuck up, apart from dying on a mission. But yeah, Ben was never seen by him as a fuck up, so he still adopts Ben, but fucks the other lot of them off and buys different babies.
Oh no.
Including a cube.
Perhaps I misjudged them. Yes, I'm going.
Which raises a lot of questions that are never actually answered before the cube goes away.
See, all that reminds me of that great bit from the Super Mario cartoon, where it's I was born with a plunger in my hand. It's I know, it was hell on mum. It's I was born a cube. It's that's gotta suck, right? Ladies, would you want an entire cube passing through you? I think not.
Yeah, it's weird to me that of all characters to be called the Kraken, it wouldn't be Ben. Because the Horror, Ben, can summon tentacled horrors from his body. Of all characters to be called the Kraken, is not the one with tentacles coming out.
Lucas, shut up.
Maybe
Gerard Way was very drunk when he wrote this.
Maybe just the dad didn't give a shit enough to give them all fitting names. He just got them confused.
He just didn't care, right? It's what's my nickname? Oh, the Kraken. It's that's not my power. You're the Kraken now.
I don't know. One of you has tentacles. Close enough. And then you've got the boy, which is 5 Hargreaves, the number 5, and they are a boy with the ability to jump through space and time. The reason that they are portrayed as a boy is because they travel into the future, ended up in a post-apocalyptic world, unable to get back, but it's returning to that time period caused him to be a 13-year-old boy, or stuck in a 13-year-old boy's body anyway.
Well, that must suck, right? It's man, I just want to go to the club. Not allowed to go to the club.
Because it often is depicted as them sitting down and acting like an adult and going to a bar and asking for a drink, and they're looking at this 13-year-old boy no,
classic source of humour in that sort of thing, yeah.
Played by Aidan Gallagher, who I presume at the time they were hired was 13, does a very good job of not being an annoying kid/teenage actor.
I found it at a playground, actually. Must have just hopped out.
Always a hard, like, we just talked about Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
So, does some of the kids on that get real fucking old real fast?
Yes, yeah. The way the plot goes can be annoying, and some parts of the writing are a bit, like, iffy at times. As much as they're all, like, messed up superhero kids that got kind of, fucked up by having this shitty dad and all that jazz. It's like, all of them are likeable and redeemable to an extent, apart from Allison, who does, like, the rumour stuff, where it's like, she just unashamedly manipulates people constantly, and then in season 2 kind of, like, learns her lesson, but then in season 3 becomes a selfish asshole again.
Yes.
And it's just
we need
like
conflict. We need interpersonal conflict and drama for our TV show.
Yeah, and it's just like, by the end of season 3, I'm just like, I do not like you at all. I do not think you are redeemable or nice or anything, and it's just like, god damn it. Despite its flaws, still really enjoyed it.
And I'm looking forward to season 4, presumably.
I am indeed, yeah. And it kind of the general, like, premise, the weird sci-fi apocalypse, like, mysteries and stuff like that, they're the character portrayals and performances, they're what keep me coming back and enjoying it. Like, just the cast is, as I say, mostly extremely likable and portrayed very well. But yes, it's just, I love it and I hate it sometimes, but for the most part I like it.
Yes.
And I would recommend it to people, but yeah. It certainly has its moments where I get very frustrated with it, but keep coming back, which is the important thing, right?
Yes, and presumably people, if they want to talk about the latest season, no spoilers, they can do so in our Discord found below.
You can indeed, and down in the comment section, you can let us know who your, like, either favourite character is, or if there's a character that strikes a nerve like Allison does with me. That one character that just you can't be redeemed in your eyes.
Or you watch them, it's like, oh man, I was having so much fun till they turned up.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a classic, right? That kind of character that's like, I was having fun and you turned up, go away.
And that's another thing that doesn't help Allison's character, is like every single season, hers is like a bit more of a slow, plodding, depressing storyline, whereas a lot of other people kind of have a bit of levity to them.
They're having
and
fun.
she
They're
just like
Yay!
Brings it back down, brings the mood down, and you're just like, it's not a, I'm not blaming the actor or anything. I think they've just done a little bit dirty by that choice. And then just Robert Sheehan just swans in and steals every fucking scene.
Just acting circles around everyone.
But yeah, I hope everyone does enjoy season 4, and if you haven't watched Umbrella Academy, go watch it, go enjoy it, and then come back and chat with us all about it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, thank you all for watching, and have a lovely day.